Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about this latest episode of 90 Day Fiancé. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit the thumbs up and let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments. So, in this episode, Rob is outside huffing and puffing because of the encounter from last week with Sophie's mom. So, he was like, well, I'm doing this by myself, and how dare you tell me what to do? And so he is making it. He's like, they're making it seem like I'm living in squalor and I'm doing the best I can. I don't have any help from anyone. But it's like he's trying to make it seem, and I don't know if he's doing this because Sophie's from another country, but he's trying to make it seem like this is the norm for the average person. You are what, 32? And you live in a studio without a kitchen and without an in-house bathroom, and you're offended because her mom has an issue with the setup. She rightly should have an issue, because if you have your child going into a place and she's supposed to be getting married and she's living worse than she was living before, why wouldn't that be a concern? So he's making it seem as though, they're wrong in their concerns. Now, I feel like he feels betrayed by Sophie because she already knew the situation when she came, and then now she's siding with her mom about the mom's concern. And so I feel like he's defensive because he's feeling betrayed. But at the same time, she has raised concerns about the living situation and is asking about when they'll be able to move out of there and all that. So, they're legit concerns. So I don't understand why he's all upset. I guess he wants to just stay there and for her to be okay with it. And that's just, not acceptable. So later on, we see where Sophie's packing up her stuff and she's going to go with her mom. And so she ended up leaving with her mom. And he is left there by himself, sulking about the problems. I don't understand why Rob is expecting that everybody should be okay with this. And I know, Sophie is much younger than him. And so him being 30 or 32, around there, you would think that he would be more responsible and think ahead of what they would need once they get married, but he's not. Granted, they didn't discuss a timeline for when they would move out this little place, but you being the older one and should be the more mature one, and considering that you're going to be the head of household, you would think that he would be thinking or planning, how to make their life better or put her in a better living situation, but he's not. So because he's not living up to the expectations of a husband or head of household, he's trying to project this onto Sophie's mom. But, the concerns are valid. I don't understand why he's all upset about that. I don't think that she disrespected him. I feel like she was asking legit questions as a concerned parent, but of course, he's upset. And I just wonder if he, wouldn't have been better off living with his parents, or I don't know the situation, if he was kicked out or what, because he was saying he didn't have any help from anybody, not his mom, not his sister or whatever. So I don't know if he was kicked out while he was living there, or why couldn't he have just stayed with them and save his money so that when she came, they could find a nicer place for them to live. And what about the job situation? I thought a few episodes ago he was going to work. So what is the deal? What is his job even? Is he working right now? I don't even know what's going on. So it's a situation that's very unstable on so many fronts for these two. And I feel like Sophie just needs to go back home, and I think her mom has mentioned that before, but I don't know if she is really encouraging that in private or what, but they're not really in a place to be getting married, not from the living situation, not from the financial situation, not from, a relationship as far as the interpersonal relationship between the two. They're just, as a matter of fact, I don't think any of these couples should be moving forward anyway, but, this one, yeah, it's a. So Citra and Sam are supposed to pick her sister up from the airport. We know that her dad, what was his name again? Was it Herbert or something? I don't remember. So her dad and one sister is here already. They're staying at a hotel. So they're going to go pick up the other sister, and then they're going to go see the father and the other sister at the hotel. So prior to that, they decided that they were going to go out, have some fun before he does his conversion. And so they're going to go to some bar to have a drink. And Citra's like, she's not supposed to be drinking, so just don't tell her dad, which is kind of funny. And I just wondered about what's the difference between the sisters, because we see one that wears the headdress and the other two don't. So I don't know what's the difference. If anybody knows, let me know. I was just curious about why one doesn't. So anyway, we see where Sam's dad is trying to learn a few words of Indonesian, saying bye or something. He's having a hard time as well with learning the few words. But Sam is no different. He doesn't seem to know much of anything at all. Not the language, not about this religion that he's supposed to be converting to. And as a matter of fact, his brother seemed to pick up the language, or, can say the words better than him. And I'm like, this is kind of backwards. Aren't you supposed to be the one to know more and to be able to help them learn the language, considering that you've been seeing Citra or been in touch with her for 3 years or something like that? And in this episode, I just noticed the resemblance between Sam and his dad. I don't know, it just seems so pronounced to me in this episode. But anyway, so they go out or whatever. And later on, we see where they go to the mosque and they have to see the imam. And so he greets them in the Islamic, greeting. And he has a hard time even saying that. He doesn't know which one to say, because they're supposed to say one greeting and then the person greets you in this saying, you say something else back, but he's repeating what the imam is saying and he's not even saying it right. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what have you been doing this whole time? You're supposed to be converting and it doesn't seem like you're learning any of the mannerisms, the customs. You don't know the words. What do you know? So then he goes on to say that he's an atheist, but he has come to I guess basically be religious again because of Islam or something like that. And I was just like, I don't know if I believe that, because I don't think that drugs are allowed or acceptable in any kind of religious sect. And you have been dabbling. So how are you, he's making it seem like he's changed and become a better person because of this experience. And not that we've seen the stuff that he's doing, is not that of, I guess, religious or somebody who's changed. And so then later on, they talk a little bit more about the process of converting. And then the dad has to be involved in the conversion or say a prayer or something. So, he's getting to learn more about the conversion process. He is, concerned because of the fact that if his dad has to approve of the conversion and all that, and he still has to disclose about the diversion problem, possibly going to prison and all that stuff. So that's another thing that he's worried about. So later on, they go to the hotel to hang out, and I think to meet the other sister and all that, and the dad, and I don't think they had a whole lot going on this week, but we're supposed to see more of that conversation next week. So that should be an interesting conversation, because how does the dad approve the marriage knowing that this is all, bubbling underneath the surface, and potentially, his daughter would be left by herself in a whole different country and a whole different continent if he goes to jail. I don't know. He's not stable. He's not ready. There's just so much that's not right for a person who's supposed to become a head of whole household and become a husband. On top of that, you have the conversion that he's, that's another thing that he's just so far behind. He doesn't really know a whole lot. He's not ready for any of this. It doesn't seem like to me, but let me know your thoughts. We see where Nikki goes to a nail salon to get her nail. I guess she had a broken nail, so she went to go to the salon. So, of course, you know how she is. She'll talk to anybody who will listen or complain to anybody who will listen about her sex life. And so she starts to talk to the lady about how they used to have sex this many times a day, and now it's that. Is this normal? And the nail tech was like, I don't think so. So then she goes into complaining about how, he's controlling, he tries to bring her down, and, is this typical of Moldovan man? And she says kind of, yeah, they are a bit assertive and controlling. I guess the point is that I think what the tech was trying to convey is that, Moldovan men prefer a more submissive woman. But she took away that Moldovan men are controlling, and she's saying that she needs to, I guess, bring him down as far as his control level. So instead of, thinking like, hey, if he wants a submissive woman and I'm not that, maybe this is not going to work out. Her solution is to try to change him, which it's not going to work. So anyway, I just don't understand. They had this big blowout over the threesome thing, and then now nothing. What was resolved about that? So later on we see where after she got her nail repaired, she met Igor at the park. And so she struts up and they're hugging and kissing like nothing happened. These couples just never resolve anything. So anyway, so he rents a little swan paddle boat or something on the lake. And so they're paddling along or whatever. And so they're talking about, how Igor is saying how they need to be more of a team and all that. And so they go, after they do the little paddling across the lake, they sat down. And so they're back to this threesome conversation. And so Nikki says that in order for him to have a threesome, their intimacy needs to improve. And so she says, if you get a threesome, then I get a threesome as well. And so I thought she didn't want to do a threesome. So now she's proposing that she gets a threesome as well. I don't even know that Nikki knows what she really wants, because she was adamant that she was past the stage of, experimenting and doing all of that she just wants to be with one person. And now it's a different story. So now they get into this argument now, because when she mentions that she would like a threesome with two men, he starts to laugh. And I was just like, so now she's offended. Like, why are you laughing right now? And I don't even know why Igor was laughing. Like, this is not an appropriate point in a conversation to laugh. She didn't say a joke or anything, and it didn't seem like she was joking, but he was laughing. So she's all ticked off. So basically he wants to have a threesome with two women, and she wants a threesome with two men, but he doesn't want her to have two men. He doesn't want anybody else to, get with her, which is so, yeah, that is very unfair. You're wanting to be with other people, but she can't. So, he only wants his own dream to be fulfilled, and then not her. He doesn't really care about what she wants. So I feel like he's being a bit selfish, in this moment, because you're having it too, but she can't have it. So she is rightfully ticked in that. So she's saying that they're supposed to be having the engagement party tomorrow. Are they still having it? And he says that they fight a lot, but they always try to understand each other. So basically, they're going to move forward with the engagement party. I don't know why. Why? Things are wrong on so many fronts. I just don't understand why they're pushing for this. But I guess it's because of the being on TV and the notoriety. Because I feel like if they weren't on TV, like, they would have broken up already. Why are we pushing for this? They're so incompatible. It's unbelievable. But yet they're still pushing forward despite all the issues that they're having. This week we see a continuation of the debacle at the restaurant with Ashley and Manuel. So she stormed off last week, and so we see where she comes back to the table, and it almost reminds me of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because she was so upset when she left, and then she came back and was like, "Oh, I'm okay." And I'm like, how do you just get so upset? It's a legitimate issue and concern that you have, and then now you're sweeping it under the rug like it's okay. She didn't want to resolve it. It's like they never resolve anything. But anyway, so she says, okay, we're going to take Jonathan to the airport or whatever. This is the plan. So she gets up and says she's leaving. And so she says to Manuel, are you coming or not? So Manuel was like, I'm staying. And I'm like, okay, stop being a brat. He was just being a brat. So she left the restaurant, and so she went out to the car. And so he was saying to his friend, I don't know what I did wrong, and this lady never understands, or something like that. And so eventually we see where, Jonathan, he's kind of like awkward, just sitting there awkwardly, and just like, what in the world? So anyway, so he says, you should go say you're sorry and, give her a kiss or whatever. So they ended up leaving the restaurant and they go outside. So we see Ashley, she's sitting down somewhere. And so he goes over and says, I'm sorry, I love you very much or whatever. And so I don't know if this is a signal or what, but she had like a spaghetti strap dress on. And I think he was kind of like fixing her strap or something like that. And I don't know if this is a signal or what, but he did that. And he said, what can I do? And she's like, come with me. So I thought she was meaning, come with me to the airport, because earlier he had refused, saying that he wasn't coming. He was going to stay there. And lo and behold, come with me means let's go to the public bathroom and get it on. It's just like, oh my God, these people cannot be serious. So Jonathan is out there waiting, and he's looking all awkward. And I think maybe he knows what's happening. They're in the bathroom. Once again, nothing gets resolved between these two. It's like Ashley, it's almost as if Ashley picks a fight so she can make up or something like that. It's like she gets off on a fight because she knows this is how they're going to make up. I don't know. That's just how it's coming off to me. Because she pitched a fit, but then she doesn't really try to resolve anything. So I feel like they're both in the wrong about certain things, but she constantly brings up how she clothes and feeds him and all this stuff. Yes, you're responsible because you brought him here and he can't work. So once again, I can see why Manuel is annoyed, because she keeps bringing that up. But at the same time, he's unreasonable to expect that she's going to spend all her, extra or disposable income on his family. So that's unreasonable as well. But for her to throw this in his face, if this is what she's doing, I can see why he gets annoyed. So anyway, later on, we see where she meets up. She's supposed to meet up with her sister and her friend Alyssa, I think her name is, Alicia. And so they're supposed to be doing some dance for the wedding. I don't know what kind of dance this is supposed to be, but what I saw of it didn't seem that impressive, or it wasn't really sexy. I guess she was saying it's supposed to be sexy. I don't know. I didn't see it, but whatever they're working on. So then she ended up telling them about what happened at the restaurant. And they were like, what? So yeah, she was like, don't judge me, you're on a 12 and I need you to be on a 2, she was saying to her sister. And so they're like, I don't know if she should be doing this, because they never resolve anything. All they do is F and fight. And basically, that's the extent of it. And so she goes on to talk about how she has faith and all this stuff. But faith is not going to make a marriage work. You have to actually resolve things and get on the same page, which they're not doing. So anyway, so she, I guess, despite of all the issues that's going on between her and Manuel, she's pushing forward with the marriage. And we see as well in this episode where she was doing some kind of lighting a bunch of candles, and Manuel was like, what is this? Did somebody die? Because she's lighting a bunch of candles. And so she said there's a rock for some chakra, and their chakra needs to be up their head or something like that, and not in the lower, whatever, higher level energy. So she's going into her so-called witchery thing, and he's just looking. So Manuel is very amused, because he's like, you know what, I'm just going to do what she says, because I don't want any problems, and I want to get hit in the head with this rock, because she has some kind of rock that's supposed to be, some kind of energy, help with the energy, because she's saying that she's sensing bad energy. So she said she had to go. So she gave him the rock, and he tries to put in his pocket, because she said he needs to hold it close. So he was like, can I put it here? He's like, no, you got to hold it close to your heart. So he's sitting there on the sofa with this rock to his chest. And then Rico Suave is on the couch and he was like, I think he needs a cleansing too, or something like that. It's just so crazy. But at least he was taking it in good, I guess, a good sport about this whole witchery thing, because we know how those two can fight. So it was just funny that he was just sitting there like, okay, let me just, you know what? I would like some peace right now. Let me just take this rock and sit down and do what I'm told. All right, so this episode we pick back up again with Clayton and Anali. She's crying and he was asking what was wrong. And so we see where they're talking further about the problem, which I don't know that they even resolved why she was crying, but she did say that she was kind of at her wit's end because she felt disrespected. Okay, so maybe that's why. She felt disrespected and not listened to and not being heard by Clayton. You know, her dad, you know, she's reluctant to get her dad, introduced him to her dad. And so in this episode, she ended up posting a picture online of him and write a sweet little caption about it. But I feel like if you have to force somebody to do something, is it really from the heart? You know, is it really genuine? I feel like she got pressured into doing that. And so Clayton was happy that something was posted about him. And so this kind of kicked things off. I guess that's the ultimate goal for him, more for his gratification versus her comfort. He wants to be acknowledged, which I understand. But if she doesn't want to, you know, maybe you should think of something else, or, you know, rethink the relationship. She should be able to, you know, do it freely if she wants to, not be forced into it. But anyway, after she does the post about him or whatever, I guess they got the romance started after that. And so after a massive dry spell, I guess they're no longer celibate, I guess. And what else happened with the two here? Oh, yeah. So then they were still in San Diego, and they called Brandy, and Annalie asked Brandy to help her with the bachelorette, and she said she was already planning something. And then Clayton was asking about helping helping with the wedding. He wants a llama, he wants this, he wants that. So she was like, look, I'm willing to help, but all this stuff that you're asking me for, I'm not doing. I'm doing the llama, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And so she was like, I have a life of my own. You're not going to just push this all on me. So anyway, he was talking, and she just ended up hanging up on him. I thought it was so funny. He was talking, he was like, click. And then he called back, and I don't think she answered. But Brandy, she's kind of rude, but it was kind of funny because instead of him doing this stuff, he wants her to do it. And I'm like, yeah, your sister is willing to help, but my goodness, what are you doing, you know, towards the wedding? Why does she have to do all this? And maybe you should reach out to your best man because he's supposed to be helping you. But I guess he can't do that since Cameron is in San Diego. But surely, well, I guess he doesn't have any other friends. I was going to say, surely you have other friends who can help, but it's the one friend, so I guess. But Brandy was like, I don't think so. So Jasmine and Gino are having a good time in Florida. We see where he sets up a romantic dinner, and Jasmine is very impressed. At the dinner, she's talking about how, you know, how good of a man he is, how she loves him, you know, it's all lovey-dovey, things are going well. Gino wants to re-propose to her as well, and he had bought her an upgraded ring. So, you know, he gives her the ring, she's happy, she's crying, and then also at this dinner, she had mentioned about that she will try with his family, because initially she didn't want to try. She didn't want them at the wedding. And so Gino got emotional about that because, you know, he had been pushing for his family to be involved in the wedding. So everything was going well at the dinner. So because things have been going so well, Jasmine decides that she's going to come clean about the thing with the surgery and the source of the funds for the surgery. And so she decides to tell Gino about, you know, remember the surgery that I had, you know, part of the money came from the wedding dress funds, and then a part of it was from me, and then she mentions that a part of it was from Dean. And yeah, Gino didn't take it so well. He just put his head down and he was like, "Not this again." And then we see the flashbacks of their prior fights that they've had regarding Dean. And she says that they're just friends or whatever. The money was supposed to be a loan, but that when she got engaged, Dean had said that it would be a present to them on their engagement, which is kind of weird because why would your ex be giving you a surgery as a present for your new or for your fiance or new husband to enjoy? It's just weird. And so Gina was like, I thought this was all over once we get engaged. And then she moved here. There wouldn't be all this Dean being inserted into our relationship. So he is not happy at all. Surprisingly, from what we see, he didn't blow up, but we see that he's very, very quiet and they're ready to go and they're leaving, their hotel, and he's not really saying a whole lot. So I think he did exhibit a little bit of self-control. Both of them did in this situation, but we know that he's really, really ticked. And I don't think it's going to be the end of this conversation about this thing because she has kept it so long from him. I feel like if she had mentioned it before now, maybe that would have reduced the sting of it. But because it's gone on so long, she's just now telling him. And the occasion where he was feeling that everything is going so well between them, and then now here this thing is that's coming up again, that's pretty much ruining everything. Anyway, I think that's all for this episode. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. Like, comment, and subscribe.